Are we taking a short breather? Or is this the start of a return to the bull market? What is happening here is very exciting, interesting, but could cause extreme fluctuation. Hey, and welcome to Crypto Owl. Exciting news about interest rate decisions, statements from Donald Trump, and a lot of money being pumped into the market. All of this in the video, and many other things happening right now. Once again, I have rummaged through the news jungle, and a few things caught my attention. First, as always, we start with the price. And the Bitcoin price, it was able to rise a bit yesterday. Let's take a quick look. If we take the middle of it all, it was able to rise about yesterday. Almost 7% rounded up. 7%. If you start from the bottom, it definitely is 7% rise, as we can see here. And this is due to rumors and announcements. This is relatively easy to explain because around this time, yes. In this period, when it just started here, there were rumors that the USA wants to buy 1 million Bitcoin. This wasn't spread by major news sites, but rather by others. Things like, well, I would say smaller news sites that are still trying to make a name for themselves, which of course need a top headline. But nothing came from the big ones. So that means we lack the exact information, hence a rumor that was spread. But shortly after, the news and announcement came that Donald Trump will appear at the Digital Asset Summit 2025 in New York. And that's today, by the way. Today, when the video is released, that's in the afternoon. I'm very curious about that. Currently, the main stage is running. Day 3, Donald Trump will speak. And then, of course, you can go and say, there's this rumor now. And he's attending a digital asset conference. You could make something out of that. Meanwhile, it's even said that not only Donald Trump will be there, but Michael Saylor will also be present. So, it will be a crypto conference where Bitcoin will be a topic. Thanks to Michael Saylor. Whether Donald Trump will make Bitcoin a topic is, of course, interesting and exciting. So there's a lot of anticipation for that. And if you look at when the news came out, then it becomes quite clear why things went up so steeply here. Because many, of course, interpret a lot into it without paying closer attention to this rumor. Because, as mentioned, major news platforms did not share it. Then there was the interest rate decision by the Fed. Remained the same. Nothing happened, one might think. That's actually quite interesting. We see a trade war here. We see tariffs. We see an economy that is going down. We see the government quota is going down. Or rather, government bonds are being released, which leads to high unemployment or at least more unemployment. And yet the Fed says we'll leave everything as it is. And that could become interesting and cause fluctuations. How come? Fed Chairman Jerome Powell says the Federal Reserve does not need to rush with adjusting interest rates. That means for him, or rather, for the Fed, it's actually as good as it is. But not in a way that one would say we need to change this. My reaction to that is more like this is exactly what Trump is working towards. It's about a lot of money in the summer. By then he needs favorable, or rather, low interest rates. This year, it's about a total of around $7 trillion in debt that needs to be refinanced in the USA. $7 trillion dollars? That's a significant figure. And to finance this, he needs cheap money, or rather, low interest rates. He has already looked for the first alternatives and maybe even found something. I'm very curious to see how he can refinance with the stable coins. That means if you want to remain as stable coins and we don't regulate you, or rather, put a stop to it, let's look directly at USDC, meaning Tether, then you need to invest a certain portion and preferably as much as possible in US government bonds. In other words, the money that is deposited for USDC should be invested in government bonds. And then we'll leave you alone. Hey, if you have a lot of government bonds, meaning debts with us, it means Tether gives money to the USA and even receives interest for it. Actually, yes, that's nice, but they shouldn't want it back too quickly because, as we've read, $7 trillion in debt needs to be refinanced. And stablecoins could then be an alternative to bring in at least a few billion. Whether it's UCT, USDC, or other stablecoins, they should play along and then be left alone in the USA, according to Donald Trump. That's one possibility. Other possibilities, yes, government bonds, meaning acquiring private money, but that's not so easy. In the EU, this might soon be simplified with the digital euro. Many are afraid that with one click, you suddenly have government bonds, even though you didn't want them. It's a pipe dream of the ECB. Whether it will really happen, and now also from Germany, as we've heard. In Europe, they say, we need such and such amount of money, and private households have a lot of money, and that could be enough for us. A difficult topic at the moment. If Jerome Powell hints that they are not in a hurry to cut interest rates, then we can expect a reaction from Trump. New tariffs and things that weaken the economy. Because, yeah, if the economy is weak, meaning if the cart is driven into the mud on purpose, then the Federal Reserve, that is, the central bank, also has to react. That they then say, yes, watch out, we are lowering interest rates to inject cheap money into the market to strengthen the economy again. So, to make investments possible. And these with low interest rates. And that is exactly what Donald Trump is working towards, because $7 trillion, whether stablecoins, private money, and so on, he won't be able to access that quickly. He has to take out a loan. And this loan, yes, let's be honest, $7 trillion. Preferably with as little interest as possible. Well, there is something else, and that was interesting again, namely the dot plots. These are the statements, or rather, the votes or the indications from the Federal Reserve. Members who then say where they see the interest rates in the near future. And this is how the whole thing looks. The dot plots, that's what it's called. And then everyone votes with a dot on how and where they think the interest rates are heading. Currently, we are at 4.5. And then you vote somewhere in between, like 4.5, 4.25. The points that are there are satisfied with that, and others think more, that it goes down a bit. Here, for example, there are 2 points at 3.75 to 3.5, so downwards. So that's already good. Yes, and that's for 2025. Here you can see it clearly again, 26, 27, and longer one. Quite interesting here. For 26, 3 people already see the interest rates at 3, down to even 2.75. And then for 2027, even at 2.75 to 2. 2 people. And longer, 1. So, and for the longer term, within the next period, so in the next 5, 6, 10 years for the longer run, people still see the interest rates at 3. I think that's the main point, but also up here. And it's interesting to see whether money will become cheaper in the near future or not. And I think the outlook is not such that one would say drastic interest rate cuts within the next 2 years. But at least there are already the first ones who say yes, towards 2.5 or towards 3 in any case. That's already a statement. From 4.5 down to 3 is still a bit, unless they cut quite significantly. Usually when there's an interest rate cut, 0.25% or rather, or 25 basis points as it's called. So, the topic of interest rates remains exciting. And there was a bit more, and there's a summary here. Namely, the Fed is keeping interest rates unchanged for the second time in a row. Fed says uncertainty regarding the economy has increased. Yes, well, Donald Trump, the median forecast shows a rate cut of 50 basis points in 2025. So that's where one thinks it's heading. This is also linked with the dot plots. The Fed is slowing down the balance sheet reduction starting from the 1st. April. Many say this is very, very bullish. I'm very curious. Could also be an April Fool's joke. No, but we are very curious. Fed lowers growth significantly for 2025. That's a statement. If they themselves are already lowering their growth forecast, then it could be that they are really considering interest rate cuts because, yes, let's be honest then, something has to happen, like investments. The Fed raises its inflation forecast because they think a lot of money is coming in. In other words, someone has to take on a lot of money. Who was that again? And the Fed's pause is officially continuing because currently nothing else is happening regarding interest rate cuts or increases. And that's how it looked recently from the Corona times of 5.5 or after the Corona times when after injecting so much money into the market, you had to balance it all out, meaning they raised the interest rates. And now they have come down again from 5.5. And honestly, from August 2024 to now March 2025, down by 100 points, meaning a whole percentage point. Yes, and that is, of course, now the point where one says, they are now here. And 4.5%, is that satisfactory for Donald Trump? I can imagine not. And that's exactly what he said. He said the Fed would be much better off with an interest rate cut, as the US tariffs are now slowly making their way into the economy. A hint with a fence post, so to speak, in the sense of lower the interest rates. I could start even more trade wars, meaning impose punitive tariffs. Wow, crazy, what's happening right now? But I think then you can see why he's doing it exactly. He's doing it because he needs the low interest rates, so that in the end he can stand up and say, I made sure we have lower interest rates or better rates than before. And that is his big goal. And that's exactly why we can expect fluctuations, because he won't just accept it like that. Donald Trump needs low interest rates or must find other ways to refinance $7 trillion in 2025. Many will now say, 7 trillion, that's not true at all. Yes, there are many small points. It's a few billion here, a million there, and so on. Overall, we're talking about a package of $7 trillion in 2025. That's a lot. And that's exactly why he's doing all of this. Because he needs these interest rates, these low interest rates. And if Jerome Powell doesn't play along here, then things will get very interesting in the USA. That's the main topic of this video. And after that, we have more news. If you now say the prices are low and this is a buying opportunity, then go ahead and buy on CoinEx. CoinEx has over 1,200 cryptocurrencies listed, and you can easily buy and sell here through their third-party providers. Whether it's a payment provider, credit card, or bank transfer, everything is very easy here with their third-party providers. Currently, yes, buying rates umaangat, so the euro to dollar value is down, but there are also other currencies. If you're from another country, you can easily deposit here. Then you can easily swap here. Among these over 1,200 cryptocurrencies, you can easily swap back and forth, for example, from Bitcoin to other currencies or vice versa. You can also see which trading pairs are swapped the most. You can currently and of course easily buy spot via limit and market price. All of this is very easy with CoinEx. And you can even send your tokens to your hardware wallet. Of course, futures trading is also possible. If you say, I want to go long and short, that's all possible. With futures trading, even copy trading and demo trading, if you want to try it out, there is also a beginners section. If you are new to CoinEx, there are many bonuses here. There are also tips here, as well as additional bonuses. There are more bonuses if you sign up with our link, which you can find in the video description. And there is also a fee cashback there. Check out CoinEx, over 1,200 cryptocurrencies, buy and sell easily and simply. Other news from around the world is very interesting, specifically a very bullish piece of news. North Carolina, the senator has now said that they want to introduce a bill where up to 10% of public funds are to be invested in Bitcoin. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? So, 10% of the public funds of a US state in Bitcoin as a reserve. Good plan, right? What do you think? Write it in the comments. Would it be cool if your city, for example, invested in Bitcoin? Would that make you happy? Or would you say no? Better to repair the roads because my car, the shock absorbers, they're suffering anyway. So, feel free to write it in the comments. Then BlackRock, and you have to be careful there at BlackRock nowadays. And indeed, BlackRock says Bitcoin is an emerging global currency alternative. Of course, BlackRock says that nowadays. They have a Bitcoin product. They have several Bitcoin products. They have Bitcoin products and they want you to invest in Bitcoin, preferably through their products. Then they earn a fee. When they earn a fee, they have achieved what they want, which is to be a profit-oriented company. That's why, yes. They have, of course, great statements about Bitcoin and also FIO nowadays, but overall, they want you to buy their spot ETF. At least, not just you, ideally, but large companies that bring a lot of money and fees so that investments are made here. Now, the big question is, can the market even revive again? Can new money come in again? And we are at an interesting point. Something interesting has happened, namely new money in the market. And this new money starts with $250 million that were minted yesterday with USDC. So, new USDC for the market. So, new stablecoins flowing into the market. And these can then also be exchanged for example, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. But even more astonishing is this. Namely, 1 billion. USDC was also newly minted yesterday. And with Solana, even 10.5 billion USDC distributed over the course of the year 2025. Newly minted. That's also incredible. So new money for the market is there and is coming in. We see that here because someone must have deposited or requested these USDC or USDC at Tether or Cycle. So real money is deposited and then it is written into the blockchain. And that ensures, or rather, it shows that new money is coming into the market. Yes. Yes, exciting, exciting, exciting. I already mentioned the digital euro at the beginning of the video. And Michael Saylor commented on it and said, Europe, or Euro, yes, I suppose Eurozone. I don't really know why. Euro, gonna need Bitcoin. Why not write it out? Europe, that is Europe, will need Bitcoin. I don't know why it's abbreviated so oddly, but Bitcoin Magazine quotes a statement from Michael Saylor, Europe will need Bitcoin. Yes, let's remember that. We've already experienced it. We are seeing high new national debt. We see a lot of money being borrowed. We are now talking about 1 billion euros that the federal government will take on as special assets, meaning new debt, which will continue to lead to inflation. So, an increase in the money supply always leads to inflation. And it is essentially a blank check for the countries around us to also take on new debt or borrow new money. That's why it will be very interesting. And that's why Michael Saylor says Europe needs Bitcoin or will need Bitcoin because we need an alternative to protect our money from high inflation. The whole situation will become very, very exciting in the coming years. With the digital euro, I can imagine that new hurdles and new protests will arise, especially considering the current situation in the southern countries, also against our currency. The whole situation is and remains very interesting to observe and exciting to see where the journey goes and what happens. How governments will reorganize themselves or perhaps even bring about changes in Europe. And of course, the big topic for us in the crypto sector. Regulations? Are we really blocking everything, holding ourselves back like backwoodsmen by restricting AI? Would prefer to ban cryptocurrencies, doesn't really want private wallets, meaning hardware wallets, or requires proof, travel rules, and so on. These are really intense times for Europe, but also for us as Europeans, at least if you are a viewer from Europe, for us as crypto holders, investors, or however you identify. Exciting, 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 but overall actually bullish with what's happening, right? If Trump manages to lower the interest rates, new money will enter the market. If he achieves his goal, he could then go ahead and simply end the trade war and say, yes, now I have my low interest rates, tariffs, it's okay. Let's drop them, everything's good again. And the economy back up, because it's not his long-term goal to drive the economy into the ground, only short-term to get the interest rates down. Crazy world, I'm telling you. And at the end of the day, everything revolves around money. Once you understand the monetary system, you start to consider whether you need alternatives. And maybe Bitcoin is the only alternative or very few other cryptocurrencies that you should hold as security. Feel free to check it out, form your own opinion, and write in the comments what you think. Like, subscribe, everything as always. In this sense, thank you for watching and see you in the next video.
You